They don't have no regard or respect for rest, and I think they all should be exterminated. What is American gangster about? Them American rap? Rayful and Alpo and Nicky Barnes and Shirley Book, man, them rap.
A dramatic capture. The world's most wanted, most dangerous drug lord, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, back in Mexican custody tonight. Mexico's president announcing mission accomplished after a nearly 6-month manhunt for the Sinaloa cartel chief.
This is absolutely massive. It's of enormous importance for the Mexican government, in particular for Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto.
I think when most Americans think of organized crime, they naturally think of guys like John Gotti, Al Capone. They pale in comparison to Chapo Guzman.
This is the moment Joaquin El Chapo Guzman makes the Mexican government look ridiculous. Pacing up and down in his cell, calmly, waiting. These are the last images of Guzman before he makes the most daring escape in recent history. At one point, he appears to bend forward, focusing on something in the floor of the shower. Then, he sits down, appearing to remove his sandals. And then, he vanishes. We now know that under the shower was this hole, occupying a blind spot in the cell's CCTV cameras. Beneath it, a tunnel that was his highway to freedom. Opening the tunnel up to the press, the authorities show a well-resourced operation with electricity, an air supply, and this makeshift minecart adapted from a motorcycle, presumably used to move earth and people along its rails.
¿Qué dice, oye? ¿Cómo está?
Bien, gusto saludarte. ¿Cómo está tu carnal?
Todo bien, oye, aquí. Lástima que no me tocó verlo el otro día. Era mi hermano.
Pero ahí estamos a la orden, ya sabes.
Sí, oiga, todo bien, gusto saludarlo. Oiga, acá además lo estaba molestando para lo del otro día que recogí allá. Y le iba a decir, ahí tengo el cheque listo, no sé si... Le quería pedir un favor.
Dime.
¿Usted cree que pues lo podemos arreglar? ¿Me puede rebajar unos 5 pesos de esos?
¿A cómo tratamos?
Me lo está dando a 55.
Ay, ¿a cómo me van a pagar?
Yo le decía que si me hace el favor se los pago 50, pero ahí tengo el cheque listo.
¿Ya tienes el dinero?
Digo, si me los puede dejar, ¿verdad? La diferencia de 5 se los pago luego y si quiere mandarme más, pues unos...
Bueno, ¿cuánto es lo que te entregaron?
Me entregaron 20.
¿Cuánto?
20.
Bueno, entonces mañana recojo el dinero, ¿está bien?
¿Sí? Ok. Ok, le agradezco mucho. Es que también, allá el otro señor también me había dado algo que no salió bueno y los tengo que ahí emparejar.
Oye, ¿tú no tienes manera de traer ese dinero hasta aquí?
¿Hasta aquí? Sí, ¿cómo no?
¿Me lo das aquí entonces?
Sí, oiga. Si me da deme unos días y aquí se lo tengo. Es más, yo tenía un chequecito que ya venía y en cuanto me llegue, si quiero le adelanto algo. Cuando me llegue tenía como unos 400.
Mira, espérame. Ahorita voy a hablar con una persona. Si hay quien recoge ese dinero allá.
Sí.
Ahorita te hablo para atrás, espérame.
Ok.
Espérame.
Ok, allá escondido, ¿verdad? ¿O aquí?
No, el dinero ya lo van a recoger allá.
Ok,
Aquí te lo paso.
Okay,
para que se pongan de acuerdo tú y él y se den los números de allá para que le entreguen a ese número el dinero, tú le dices y todo.
Con que él me marque este número llegando y yo mando a los muchachos que lo miren.
No, es que la persona ya está en Chicago ya.
Oh, ok.
Entonces, ¿cómo le hacemos? El muchacho de Chicago que te habla a ti, pero tú te levantas en la tarde.
No, oiga, usted
Los bancos son en el día, fíjate.
No, yo lo mando, me levanto temprano, no se apure. Yo me encargo de que lo reciba temprano.
Por eso, pero él te va a marcar a ti y luego...
No, ok, yo digo, me encargo yo de que yo le contesto la llamada temprano, usted dígame a qué hora.
¿Por qué no le das el número de la...
¿Mande?
Mira, aquí te van a pagar mejor el número del muchacho que está en Chicago, aquí te lo van a pagar.
Ok.
Me dio gusto saludarte y saludame a tu hermano.
Ok, también aquí lo mando a saludar a mi hermano. Ok, gracias.
Amigo, buenas noches.
Buenas noches, ¿qué dice? ¿Cómo está?
Bien, ¿cómo le va?
Bien. A ver, ¿me pasa el número?
Sí, apúntelo.
¿Qué es? Sí, listo.
631.
¿631?
631, sí señor.
Ok.
455.
Sí.
88 28.
Oiga, ¿esa alada no es de Chicago? No. Sí tiene el número bien porque allá hay una alada 630.
Sí, pero esa persona allá tiene su sucursal. No
Ok,
se preocupe.
¿por quién pregunto?
Lázaro. Así
¿De
es.
parte de...?
De parte de Benjamín.
¿De Benjamín? Ok. Oiga, ¿se encuentra el señor ocupado?
Sí, ahora, le quiero hacer una pregunta.
Sí.
¿Usted tiene el numerito a dónde le van a entregar allá en Colombia?
¿Mande? No lo oí.
¿Usted solo va a entregar allá o usted va a recibir también allá en Colombia?
No, yo solo voy a depositar el cheque, el de Chicago.
Ah, bueno, ok, llame a esta persona, Lázaro, así se llama.
Ok. Oiga,
Dámelo, póngase de acuerdo con él está ahí en este momento, si quiere llámelo ahorita, rectifican
Sí, ahorita le marco, pregunto por él, me pongo de acuerdo por mañana y me encargo de depositarle el cheque.
Perfecto.
Ok, oiga, ¿se encuentra ocupado el señor?
Permítame un segundito. Amigo.
Ok, disculpa, me iba a preguntar, nomás me quedan 3, como ¿cuándo cree que lo podemos recibir otra vez?
Ah, cabrón, no, que tú nada más podías sacar poco.
Es que, de veras, estos me salieron bien chingones, ¿para qué le miento?
¿Pues cuánto alcanzas a sacar tú en un mes?
Si me quiere, pues ahorita si están así unos 40.
Ah, qué bueno. Oye, ¿no te ha mandado otra gente? Porque me dijo este muchacho que te iban a mandar.
Sí, pero lo que ellos mandaron, oiga, de veras no estaba bueno, no es nada comparado como lo que usted tenía.
Ah, bueno, yo te los mando entonces.
Sí, pero no creo que tengan otros 7 ahí que me pueden dar.
Yo te mando de esta semana a la otra.
Ok, oiga, ahí me encargo mucho. Muchas gracias,
Está bien.
Y cualquier cosa que... Ok, saludos.
The notorious drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was extradited to the U.S. Thursday night. The plane carrying the criminal legend landed at MacArthur Airport in Islip, Long Island, after about a 4-hour flight from Mexico. Mexico's Foreign Relations Department announced a handover to U.S. authorities the last night of President Barack Obama's administration, just a day before President-elect Donald Trump is sworn in. Diplomatic sources tell CBS News this was done as a goodwill gesture to the U.S. and a sign of cooperation with the incoming and outgoing administrations. El Chapo twice escaped from high-security Mexican prisons and spent years on the run as the country's most wanted man before being captured in a sewer last January. The extradition comes as the Mexican foreign minister is expected in Washington next week for his first meeting with the Trump administration. New York is one of several U.S. jurisdictions where Guzman will face drug trafficking as well as other charges. The extradition ends a decades-long effort to successfully prosecute the head of one of the world's largest narcotics organizations.
I don't think many people believe that we could capture him because here it is, this myth that he was almost untouchable. And And we believed, though, and I say we because there was a team of people that absolutely believed that if we put everything together and we pursued him relentlessly, we would capture him. No. So the Sinaloa cartel still controls the vast majority of drug distribution, illicit drug distribution markets in the United States, but Cartel New Generation is equally, if not more powerful today than ever before.
Judy El Chapo was convicted by a New York jury, but the work of authorities here in Chicago was central to the case. As the I-Team first reported more than a year ago, prosecutors had a star witness from Chicago in their arsenal. Hailing from Little Village, the Flores twins were precocious and prolific, learning the cocaine trade at age 7, and by 17 overseeing the Chicago franchise of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman's criminal operation. But a decade ago, the brothers flipped, their cooperation with the government helping take down one of history's most notorious criminals.
Guzman's deadly drugs destroyed many American families for nothing more than greed and power.
Today, El Chapo can only muster a blank stare, his wife in the Brooklyn courtroom as a jury returned guilty verdicts on all 10 federal counts. During the trial, prosecutors called more than 50 witnesses, among them Pedro Flores, one of the twins, who testified that he and his brother imported 38 tons of cocaine from El Chapo, sending $800 million in cash from Chicago to the Sinaloa cartel. Flores even wore a wire for the feds, recording conversations with cartel associates and even Guzman himself.
This was an extraordinarily strong case in some of the strongest sorts of evidence you can find, like wiretaps and others.
The defense argued unsuccessfully that Guzman was a scapegoat, set up to take the fall by cooperating witnesses, including the Flores twins.
We fought like complete savages and left it all on the battlefield for Joaquin Guzman.
The Flores twins pleaded guilty in their own Chicago case and are currently serving 14-year sentences. Once out of prison, they will likely spend the rest of their lives in witness protection.
Now to the inside story of two Chicago brothers who turned on El Chapo, helping make today's conviction possible. They did it on the watch of Jack Riley, who once headed the Drug Enforcement Administration right here in Chicago, and who once had a bounty on his head placed there by the drug lord himself.
With the exception of Osama bin Laden, I think Chapo Guzman is the #1 bad guy of our generation.
Jack Riley was raised in the south suburbs.
Another great day for the good guys in Chicago.
But caught the attention of Mexico's biggest drug lord more than a decade ago.
Going after organized crime.
Through his work with the Drug Enforcement Administration, it was on Riley's watch that federal agents arrested and flipped twin brothers from Chicago's Little Village neighborhood. Pedro and Margarito Flores were El Chapo's biggest distributors here in the Midwest. They used stash houses in the suburbs and modified vehicles to keep the pipeline of drugs flowing from Mexico to Chicago.
In the pantheon of drug prosecutions in the history of the Northern District of Illinois, this case stands at the highest level.
At trial, Pedro Flores testified he and his brother visited El Chapo in a remote area of Mexico where they saw a naked dead man chained to a tree, a reminder that those who cross the cartel rarely live to talk about it.
Certainly, the Flores brothers cooperating and providing all the information, literally on tons of cocaine and billions of dollars, and then, quite frankly, getting Chapo for the first time on a court-authorized wiretap where he's negotiating for kilos of heroin. So I think it was the most crucial evidence of the trial.
Under heavy security in 2015, a federal judge here in Chicago sentenced the Flores brothers to 14 years in prison. Back then, the U.S. attorney noted the risk their cooperation carries.
There is never a day in their lives where they won't have to look over their shoulder. The judge said in court this morning, there's never a time that they'll turn the ignition switch on a car and not wonder to themselves, is it going to start or is it going to blow up? That's its own form of life sentence, and that's a part of the extraordinary nature of this case.
Pedro Flores testified the cartel's warring factions in 2008, along with his wife's pregnancy, were what caused him to reach out to the DEA and decide to cooperate against Mexico's most infamous drug lord.